5:30, we'll call the meeting to order. Would you please stand? Mr. Alderson will lead us to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Join Mary Ann in our prayer.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for the city we live in and the school where we go and work. And Lord, please be with our staff so that we can all do what we need to do for the kids that go to this school. We try every day to meet their needs, and please help us because we don't meet all of them. Help us do what we can. Please show others that you live in us. Help us show others that you live in us. Thank you, Lord, for everything. Please be with all the students who are here tonight. We thank them for coming, and we're very proud of what they're doing, and all the staff as well. In Jesus Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen. We only have student and staff recognitions.
All right, so tonight, Coach Campbell, if you come on in and bring your guys with you. This is quite the crew right here. All right. These guys have their basketball banquet here in a few minutes, so we got to get them out of here first. But this was an exciting group of guys to watch this year. And they tied for the best record we've ever had. And you know you had a good team when all the old guys on Facebook start saying, well, they weren't good as 1982.
87.
They used to play like half court. The goal was like 7 feet tall when Calvin played. So I still think that this crew might be the best one right here.
I think so.
But listen to the awards that they won. So they went 28-8 overall, tied the school record for most wins. Area round for the first time since 2013. They had 6 players named to the District 23-4A All-League team. Tyler Shea was the district's defensive MVP. So Tyler, wave to everybody there. Yeah. Banner Allman and Carter Williams, those 2 guys were named to the first team. Wes Allman, Trey Miller, and Ray Sean earned second team accolades. These guys, they all here? Where's Ray Sean? There's okay. Ethan Nichols and Carter Williams were named to the District 23-4A All-Academic team, so congratulations to you guys. Then Banner Allman and Tyler Shea were named to the Waco Trib's Super Syntax first team, so that's a big deal too. And I think what was the neatest thing was that the gym was always packed. You know, it was a full house. They loved watching the slam dunks. I was tall, but I never could dunk it. I have articles about that. But I sure enjoy watching these guys, and they sure deserve our recognition. So, Brett, here's a certificate for you. And, Jeff, you want to get these guys' picture?
Yeah, I'm going to need about 3 rows or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Or,
how many are you guys are seniors?
Oh, why don't you stay another year?
Yeah. All right. So, you guys, if y'all will stand over here,
yeah,
kind of in front of the board, and we'll get you a picture for the paper.
This will be one of the biggest groups that I've... This is real heavy. Much heavier than I thought.
Yeah. I'm so glad Tyler's here. I finally don't feel oddly tall. Yeah, that's right.
How are we going to do this? Yeah, I might need to get a second row.
Case, you guys make a second.
Either that, or I'm going to have to like...
Yeah, short people like
Wait,
this.
where? Have somebody back.
You have to kneel. You have to kneel. I have to kneel?
Scoot over.
Or get behind this counter.
Great man. Y'all stay right here.
I see it. Let's see it. No. I might need to. Yeah. Okay, I've got everybody now. I just needed to get back a little further. All right, here we go. It'll take about 4 or 5 of them. All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We really enjoyed watching it. Really.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
See y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
Run that 6 all across.
All right, guys, our next student and staff duo that we want to honor is the high school theater arts program. So not to be outdone, Amanda Cummings and Claude Williams were the directors, and there was a tremendous amount of effort this year put forth to try to get us back on track for a winning year. And so Ms. Cummings, she worked with Carla Donaldson and Destiny Miller and Philip Taylor, all these ex-GHS Hornets that did a good job in theater arts. And so our students participated in the District 234A UIL 1 Act play on Saturday, March 4th at China Springs. And they brought home the 4th place alternate play title. That's the first plaque Gatesville's brought home in 11 years. So Amanda got us back on the map. And we had some individual medal winners here that hopefully are here tonight. So Lucy Pritchett was honorable mention All-Star Cast. Alex Johnson was All-Star Cast. And Abigail Booth was Outstanding Technician. So we have a certificate for each of you guys. We want to come up and get your picture as well. I'll get it to him later. Lucy, Abigail, and Alex. There you go. Marie, Liz, y'all want up here? No? Nothing? Okay, I'll be the eye candy.
You've never broken a camera. Thank you.
Hey guys, congratulations. You're certainly welcome to stay, but you don't have to. They all leave.
We do have some people signed up for public comments.
We do, and I have one more recognition. This is a community recognition. It's no one here in particular, but I wanted to make mention of the GHS lighting around the Go Hornets sign. And so this is really neat because, you know, the Go Hornets in front of the Sidney Pruitt Gymnasium, they turned gold following key Hornet victories. That's pretty cool. And they can be changed to different colors and patterns, honoring various holidays and seasons throughout the year. We want to give a shout out to Dusty Boyd for the idea and the jump start. Many thanks to Linda Maxwell and Dee Dee Powell. They really helped collect donations to help cover the cost. And we also want to thank the following contributors that made it all possible. Kathleen Blankenmeyer, Comer Automotive, Davidson Auto Parts, MJ Hanna, Gary Kafer, Lindsay's Trailers, Sue Lorwald, Linda Maxwell, Dee Dee Powell, Dina Powell, Quentin & Sons, and Carolyn Swindoll. And so that was really a pretty expensive project, and those guys generously donated to make that happen and really spruce the place up. And those lights are cool, and when the kids win something, they're like, hey, are you gonna put the lights on gold? So they've kind of gotten used to it, so they really like that. So anyway, we wanted to make sure to recognize them, and Ricky Phillips already put that in a little article out to the campuses, so we wanted to recognize them. Now we're ready.
The board encourages comments about the district from members of the public. Anyone who signed up to speak in advance of the meeting in accordance with board procedures may do so. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to district business and be no longer than 5 minutes. For any member of the public who's accompanied by a translator, your time will be doubled. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issue that's not posted on our agenda. In addition, the board has adopted policies to provide prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns for employees, students, or their parents, or the general public. Copies of our district policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available at the Gatesville ISD Administration Office, 311 South Lovers Lane, Gatesville, Texas. So, do we have anyone here to speak?
First up, Daniel, go on.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and board. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So I do have somewhat of a sensitive subject, so I'll be brief. I might ask some questions just as I have some understanding on policy and protocol. So the first one, now this is tied to faculty and students. So Does the school district have a zero tolerance on sexual harassment? Is that a yes?
Daniel, we don't really answer questions.
Oh, you don't answer questions.
No,
Okay,
no.
so
But we will take notes of the questions you're posing.
okay, so some of my questions regard whether or not the school district has a zero tolerance on sexual harassment. The second question applies to, does that policy in the school district apply to faculty on student? My second question is the school board aware when a sexual harassment or violation occurs on campus? Are you informed? The second or the fourth question is, when you are informed, are you also informed of whether or not an investigation is initiated and how the progress of the investigation is being executed? And then secondly, if an allegation is proposed or addressed, is it protocol to keep teachers in place during an execution of an investigation? Because then that has to be further defined on what zero tolerance is. Then last but not least, or no, 2 comments before I close out. The school's mission is to create an environment of encouragement, success through professionalism and diligence to prepare students to enter a world of respectful, responsible, productive citizens. 49% of this population, of your 892 students, are females, and the sexual harassment allegation is on a male on female. Your largest population pool is your freshman class of 221 students, and sexual harassment has, depending on how you define zero tolerance, will affect that level of your graduation rate. Currently, you rank nationally at 10,045 in graduation rate, 1,138 in the state. 59% of your population is at a dropping rate, and 47% of that population is economically impaired, which means economically they receive some kind of federal substance or state substance for them to attend education here at Gatesville Independent School District. And then last but not least, because most of your absenteeism exceeds the state average, that understanding and further defining sexual harassment and what zero tolerance is will probably reduce that absenteeism that exists in the school district. And I will conclude with, because I'm an active duty service member, and any other active duty service member that serves in the Central Texas region, and their kids go to school at Gatesville Independent School District, you receive federal impact aid, which entails basic support payments. So I could define what zero tolerance is for the Department of Defense and the Department of Education. We abide by zero tolerance. And so my next kind of escalation of consideration is, if remediation is not transparent and clear, I will elevate this to Region 12. I will elevate it to T, and then I will notify Fort Hood, which will also notify the Department of Defense regarding the definition of zero tolerance, the execution of zero tolerance, and what that means for our student population. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate for everything that you do. Your job is hard business, but you only exist to solve problems, and this is a problem. So thank you for your time.
Do we have anybody else that wants to address the board?
Thanks, Daniel. Eddie?
How's everybody doing?
Good.
My name is Eddie Sherman. I am what we call the immediate past commander of VFW Post 9191 in Killeen. And before my time starts, I have to just ask a question to everybody. Anyone in here a school teacher? You at school? Every time I meet a teacher, I apologize. I have to tell them this commercial I heard, greatest commercial. Only heard it on the radio, don't know if it was ever a TV commercial. And I've told Dr. Pollard this. Dad's talking to his son. He says, what do you want to do when you grow up? Son says, I want to be a teacher. He says, well, don't you want to do something more noble, like be a doctor, lawyer, maybe an astronaut? And the kid says, well, who do you think teaches them? So I appreciate what you do. Okay, now, going for what I came for, Dr. Pollard and I have been working the last couple of years. Veterans of Foreign Wars, I'm sure you guys have probably heard of it. Every year we have a national essay contest, nationwide. It's for 6th grade through 8th grade, and then a separate contest for 9th through 12th. And then we also have a Teacher of the Year contest, okay? We give away a lot of money. We have to. It's mandated by the bylaws nationally, okay? So, every year, there's a theme, and for the Voice of Democracy, which are the high school students, the 9 through 12, the theme this year, give me a second, I've been touching this thing too much. What are the greatest attributes of our democracy? The students that enter, there's a specific form they need to fill out. I've already given that to Dr. Pollard. And you only have to do a 5-minute essay. 5-minute essay. At my level, we award a student every year. The student this year was awarded $300 for Voice of Democracy. At our district level, District 14, they were awarded $500. Now, unfortunately, our student didn't make it to state, but we did have a student from Shoemaker that made it to state. She won $7,000, with the winner actually getting $11,000. Now, in July this year, we'll find out who the winner is for 22-23, where that young lady or young man will receive $35,000 for the same essay. Okay, we've had great, wonderful participation from Gatesville. Matter of fact, the year of the pandemic, we even had a student from the middle school, junior high, I'm sorry. I went to the middle school. One, I don't remember her name, but her mom and dad are both teachers here.
Kate Campbell.
There you go, Kate Campbell. All right, so we want to replicate that as many times as possible because, you know, I served 22 years. And I tell you what, $35,000 for my kid to go to college is wow. And it's only one essay. So now, the deadline for all of these is always Halloween. Always Halloween. If you'll get into, what do you guys call the counselors? I graduated 40 years ago. I don't know. Okay, counselors. If you turn it into the counselors, I will get them from Dr. Pollard. We do it every year. How long has it been now, Doctor?
It's been several years.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while, okay? But I wanted to make sure everybody had the opportunity to get this money because we have to give it out. Now, on the middle school level, 6 through 8, there's a separate theme. And that theme is, first off, the program is called Patriot Pen, okay? And the theme for it is, how are you inspired by America? The student only has to write a 300 to 400 word essay. Again, at our level, last year we gave that student $200. The district gave him $300. The young lady that won, $5,000 for the same essay. And then those students will again go on to national, and whoever wins that national in July will be awarded another $5,000. So that's a lot of money to keep our kids inspired on the great things that me and this gentleman here have done for the country.
What's the theme again for the 9 to 12?
It is called Voice of Democracy. Voice of Democracy. Now, if you want to read it or you want to download the application, like I said, I've already given them to the superintendent for the Patriot Pen and the Voice of Democracy. And sir, I'll call you later in the week to see if I've given you the Teacher of the Year. because that's a separate, there's no theme for it. You just kind of, hey, this is what we've done in the community, so forth, so on. The rules are on there, okay? But you can find the information on VFW, Victor Foxtrot Whiskey, .org, Oscar Romeo Golf. All right, I appreciate your time, and I won't bother you again until next year, because I'm gonna come back and tell you again, so, because we really want to award the local students doing what they're doing, and I appreciate, I'm assuming you're from the news, right? I mean,
Yes.
the newspaper, sir. A couple of years ago when Miss Campbell won, you guys covered that, so I really appreciate you guys helping us get it out there in the community. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next item is consent agenda. Consent agenda are things that come up in the district, routine nature, that we don't spend time listening to and voting on. Minutes of the March 6th special meeting, minutes of March 20th regular meeting, financial statements as of March 31st, bills and payroll for March 23rd, budget amendments, year-to-date budget amendments to fund balance, vital signs report, food service report, summer school dates, summer school tuition for out-of-district students. Anybody want to pull any of those to discuss, or can we vote on those?
I want to ask one question.
Go for it.
Okay, on the budget, or your report, does the band always have that many repairs each year?
It's pretty normal, yeah.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
That's what they had projected.
What Jose has informed us is that in the early 2000s, somewhere back then, we bought almost all the band instruments we have now all at once.
Okay.
And so now, unfortunately, they're all aging all at once. And so,
That's what I wondered, if that's what was happening.
so Jose's trying to, each budget year, add some more money just for instrument replacement and repair. And instruments are extremely expensive.
Yes.
You know, they're just super expensive.
But you'll see in the future, some funds have to be budgeted for those uniforms.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just wait till you see that number.
Yeah, it'll be $100,000 for uniforms. And that's on an 8-year replacement cycle. So band and dazzlers are both looming in the very near future.
And his budget's pretty reasonable,
Yeah,
overall
there
compared
was,
to other districts.
there was about 30, a little over 30 of them, which you figure the size of our band, I figured that was,
Takes money to have a great band program,
yes.
yeah.
Any others? Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda? A second?
No second.
Okay, we have any other questions? All in favor? Okay. Information items. Entry resistant film request for proposals.
How are y'all today?
Very good.
You may are probably aware that last summer, Governor Abbott introduced several new safety and security standards, compliance requirements, and I put in quotes on my action item information sheet that a school shall implement to all school instructional facilities owned, operated, or leased by the school system. So it's the shall means we have to do it. There's not an option there. And I think there were about 10 or 11 different requirements, and one of those requirements states that if windows that, if broken, would easily permit entry from the exterior, these windows shall be constructed or modified such that the glass cannot be easily broken. And what a lot of schools, and you have multiple options, but what most schools are going with is what's called an entry-resistant film. It's a film that goes on the inside of the window or glass doors. It attaches to the frame, and the best description I heard was it's kind of like a car windshield. The glass will still break, it just won't shatter and all fall out, so it makes it a little bit harder to climb through the window. And so we have a lot of windows that are ground level windows or adjacent to door windows that have to be brought into code. And so we are, we've applied for a grant, a safety security grant to cover this, and we've been awarded the grant. But before we can use that grant money on anything else that we would like to use it on, we have to get in compliance with those 10 or 11 requirements. We're in compliance with almost all of them. There's a couple of nominal ones that we can get fixed and get into code easily. The window inch-resistant film's the big one. The project is estimated to cost about $125,000. Again, we'll use the funds from the school safety formula grant to pay for this. We were going out for bids. We'll accept bids on May 8th, and we'll present the winning bid to you guys on May 15th at the board meeting for your review. Our first public notice was in the paper on Saturday. We'll run another one this Saturday. Any questions about that process?
So in simple terms, it's the, film that if a bad guy was trying to break in, he's gonna have a difficult time getting through.
So I'll see you again at the next board meeting with a winning bid, hopefully. We can get it done this summer.
Thank you.
Medicaid settlement payments.
Okay, this is an information item. Once a year, we file our Medicaid charge reimbursement report, called the Medicaid cost report. It's due April the 1st. We have filed that report, and let's see, the estimate is in your board book in terms of the payment. And the estimated payment is $488,099. That'll come to us in early 2024. So it takes a while to get, the money reimbursed from the government. We just received the 21 payment last month in March, and that payment was $535,000. So you have the cost report, what they call the settle-up payment, and that's a big one. And then you have interim payments that come in throughout the year as we file for reimbursements. The total amount that we budget for Medicaid charge is around $700,000. We're going to reduce that down to the $650 range, and they've made some changes to the Medicaid charge program, which makes it a little more difficult to qualify some of your expenditures. Also, one of the numbers that they use to calculate your reimbursement is the IUP ratio. And that has to do with how many kids you have in SPED, special ed, and how many of those kids qualify for Medicaid. And so our SPED numbers are going up, and the Medicaid numbers are not going up quite as fast. So the IUP ratio has come down a little bit, about 17% actually from last year. And so that has affected our reimbursement from SHARS. It's still going to be in the around $650,000 to $700,000 range, but we'll need to make an adjustment this year around $50,000 to what we had originally budgeted, and then we'll reduce down the amount of future budgets from the $700,000 that we estimated to about the $650,000. The SPED department works very hard in documenting all these services. It takes a lot of work on the part of their staff, and we have a third-party vendor that's called Onward that helps us manage the SHARS program, and they also work with us on filing the cost report. So it's a big deal. It takes a lot of work. It involves a lot of our staff, especially in the SPED department, and I appreciate all the work that they put through to get this thing done. So we started out years ago, much smaller amounts, and I've given you kind of a history of the SHARS program at Gatesville ISD, and this beautiful chart here. I will tell you the kind of reimbursements that we have been getting over the years. It started in 2013, 2014 with about $165,000. So it's grown since then. Any questions about the SHARS program or the reimbursements? I can go into more depth, but I've given you quite a bit of detail that you can study on your own. And it's a good thing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Now we go to action items. The first is this food service contract.
All right. So you're fully aware that we have Southwest Food Service Excellence as our contractor for the food service program. And we have submitted to TEA, what you have to do, this is required. TEA has to approve this contract every year. And we've submitted it to TEA for their approval, and they've granted us that. So now it's coming to the school board for your approval. So it has to go to TEA, get their approval, then it comes to you for your approval. And then once you approve, then we get both parties to sign, which would be ours, Dr. Pollard, and SFE as well. And then we'll present the full package back to TEA, signed. The contract starts July the 1st of 2023. It's a 12-month contract. And the rate that we applied was an 8.2% increase, which is actually very close to the 7.56% increase that you approved recently for the current fiscal year. You remember TDA allowed us to increase the rate reimbursement back to the SFE to take care of the inflationary pressures that these food companies have been experiencing this past year. And that was funded through a grant. And we used about half of the grant to increase the rate for this year to our food service management company. And so that rate increase is very similar to what we're projecting for next year, at 8.2. So I'm requesting on behalf of management that the school board approve our SFE contract for the next fiscal year. And it is about an $800,000 contract, so it's a substantial contract, but it has very detailed and strict ways in terms of how it gets done and how it gets approved. So it's nothing that's easy to get this approved. But it is a large amount. It's an $800,000 contract, roughly, that'll be paid to SFE. Any questions about this contract?
And you've expressed in the past your really, really high recommendation of this company.
Yes, they've done us a great job. Never have we been in such great financial shape as we are now. We negotiated, or actually it was through bids, a great contract, and they've done an excellent job. The manager on staff, or not on our staff, but on their staff, is here, Megan Hendrick. And she's doing a wonderful job as well. We're glad to have her. And she's a delight to work with. And so she's hoping, of course, that you'll approve this contract as well.
Do I hear a motion to approve? Okay, we've got a motion by Calvin to approve. A second? Any further discussion? All in favor? And it carries. Kitchen equipment.
All right, so somewhat related. Because we are doing so well financially in the food service department, we have a problem. Excess fund balance. So that's another thing to deal with now. So we're estimating our excess fund balance as of August 31 to be in the 133,000 range. And currently our cash balance in the food service fund is actually over $1 million. I've never seen that before here since I've been here. So it's pretty incredible. So obviously we're going to be adding to the fund balance in Fund 240 this fiscal year as well. So we've gone to the board, like board, I guess, not your board, and asked for suggestions in terms of what do we need equipment-wise. Anything over 5,000 has to be approved by TDA. And of course, anything 50,000 above will have to be approved by the school board and will have to go to bids. So that's the procedure. So the total amount that we are proposing to spend is $173,000 out of the excess fund balance. 20,000 of this is what we consider small wares, and 152,000 would be equipment that will have to be approved by TDA. And on that list I gave you, there's air fryers, industrial air fryers, double-decker ovens and combi ovens, industrial floor cleaners, A dishwasher is actually the most expensive part of this, will be at intermediate, and their dishwasher is actually original to their building, so it's quite old. Most of all this equipment is significantly old and is in need of either replacement, and it's almost really beyond repair. There are several new items. The countertop air fryers and the industrial air fryers are new. That's for the primary campus, junior high and high school. The combi oven at primary and intermediate are new. The double-decker ovens at elementary, intermediate, and junior high are replacements of old ones. And the industrial floor cleaner is a new item for the high school. The dishwasher is a replacement of an old dishwasher, intermediate. So we will be submitting the large items totaling $152,000 for bids. But we need your approval tonight to move along in that process. So the process will be, we will get quotes on the small stuff, and we'll go for bids on the big stuff. And then we'll bring this all back to you for approval, and then submit it to TDA for their approval. And then it'll get done. So the kitchen staff has done an excellent job with the equipment they have. This is really going to help them to continue to provide meals for our students at a high level. If you have any specific questions about any of these equipment, I do have Megan here, and I've already warned her that I'm going to have to use you. You have to back me up, because she can answer better questions if you get really detailed questions about some of the equipment. Toby's been involved from the get-go on the equipment. Of course, he's actually been responsible for repairing a lot of our equipment over the years anyway. And so he's been involved in getting the quotes so far and giving us an idea of what we need, you know, for each of our 5 kitchens. And so everybody's feeling really good about this. The kitchen staff is like, I can't believe it.
And it's
this
stuff
hasn't
that's-
happened since I've been here.
It's stuff that's needed, like Miss Cooper in the elementary, one of those old stoves came from the old elementary. So I mean, it's time.
They were saying the intermediate and junior highs and elementary stoves that we're replacing were put in the 1980s. So those are the ones that we're upgrading.
We got our money's worth.
What? There's a countertop air fryer and industrial air fryer, just out of curiosity.
So the countertop, it's more about space. The countertop primary does not need high school. You're feeding 400 kids. You've got the chicken tenders, chicken patties, the French fries, that kind of. So you need like the stand one that has multiple levels. Where primary doesn't need that much, and they don't have the space for it.
Yeah.
So there's a countertop one that takes up less space that they can use. That's more efficient for them.
So all the cafeteria managers are aware that we're presenting this to you tonight.
No pressure.
They're not used to this. They're really worried. Because this never happened that we just kind of, okay, what do we need?
They've been kind of in a shell shock stage right now, kind of like, is this really going to happen? I'm like,
Wow.
All right, so Daryl, you made the recommendation.
I did.
Make a motion.
For a second? Okay, Linda, all in favor? All right, it passes.
Yay.
New investment accounts with Techstar and Logic.
All right, so last board meeting, I mentioned to you that we were going to diversify our investments, especially in the pools, we call pools. There's 3 large pools in the state of Texas. We were with the largest, with Tex Pool. You've seen that on your reports every month for years and years. We added, the TASB had a pool, and we added that one for your approval last month. And then I mentioned last month that I'd be coming back this month with another one. And so this is installment 3 of 3. And this one is managed by Hilltop Securities. And they have 2 pools. One is called Techstar, and the other one's called Logic. Their combined pools are $22 billion. So these 3 that we're with now, these are like big, big pools in the state of Texas. They're all earning around the 5% range right now, which is pretty incredible. And we were going to pull some money out of one of our accounts at TFNB, which is earning less than that. and diversify into these pools. So today we got approval from the one at Tasby Pool, where we're setting that up. So today we finally got our login credentials for that fund. And then now we want to work on this one here through Hilltop Securities to open up a Techstar and Logic fund. And again, this is in the interest of creating more diversity in our investments and taking advantage of these wonderful pools that are available to us here in the state of Texas that all operate under the PFIA, Public Funds Investment Act, of which Dr. Pollard and I are experts.
That's right. We're trained every year.
Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution? We got Jimmy, and second. Calvin, all in favor? Regional Day School Program. I'm sorry, Bullet Resistant Shield Grant. I'm sorry. Substance abuse.
Thank y'all.
I'm trying to skip that.
If you remember last year, we updated our substance abuse policy significantly. And it's time to review it again. And we don't have the same level of changes to this year, to the policy this year. This year it's mainly wording to clarify, for clarification purposes. So this is my second year working, managing the substance abuse policy. And I fielded a lot of questions, and just these are my thoughts. I visited Dr. Pollard, Dr. Harper, and just to clarify, I moved some sections around. And so what I've done in the packet, what I provided with you is all the changes or the new parts would be in yellow, and I left what was there before just with a strike through so you could see exactly what the changes were. One of the things, the major changes or updates, I guess is a better phrase in my mind, is a lot of the wording around consequences dealt with, the phrase was for a positive test. Well, not all of our violations are positive tests. There are other substance abuse policy violations that don't revolve around a positive drug test. And that gets a little confusing when you're dealing with parents and high school or junior high students explaining this is your consequence when the wording in the policy says for a positive test, but they don't actually have a positive test. So I think this will help us. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any questions about any of the yellow changes or strike-throughs.
I don't have a question, but I have something that I was talking to Dr. Pollard. I think it was when I had a friend that come and spoke, and he is doing something that for the Liberty Hill ISD, where they, with the kids with substance abuse, they have to go through counseling. I mean, and I'm not for sure if the school district pays for it, but he is actually going to be working for this and all athletes instead of just kicking them completely out. Is go through that counseling, and it will be something good. If I'm not saying that this might be something that's good for Gatesville, but if just look at, I'd be more than happy to let him sit down and talk with you about it, because I mean it was so good that the school board and everyone went and talked with him about that. And I just think
any kind of support we can provide students is always a good opportunity, is a good thing to look at. Currently, under our current policy, for the first violation, you have to go through a minimum of 4-week process with the social workers. And I don't have any details of that. We try to keep that separate from what I'm involved in for confidentiality and just to let the kids kind of open up and maybe express a little more need for help. Second violation, 20 hours of community service is added into that, and I'm going by memory right now, so if I say something wrong, don't hold it against me. But we do have a minor component of that, but I'd be happy to hear what else other people are doing.
So on page 7, number 5, it says, oh man, I'm following you and it just bumped. All right. Stop the beat one. Okay.
7, page
All right.
7.
There we go. And the executive director of operations and student services, the superintendent.
Doesn't he?
So what does that mean? Like, why does that change? How does that look different?
I tried to make it the same as it was in other paragraphs.
Okay.
So earlier in the policy, it was just the superintendent's designee, and then somewhere along the way, it changed to the executive director of operations and student services, which was Dr. Harper's official title. I have a little bit different title.
Okay.
And so I just tried to make it all superintendent's designee, which basically whoever he says has to do it is the one that has to do it, is what it means.
So it's not necessarily the same person every time?
It's probably always going to be me,
Okay.
but if he were to change that, and the next person that had it didn't have my title, we would still be in compliance without having to go back and change the wording to say it's the director or the assistant superintendent or whatever
Gotcha.
that case may
Okay.
be. And it was worded that way in the beginning parts of the policy, and then it changed over
Okay.
midway through. So
And
I
maybe
was just
that's why I
trying
caught it like, why?
yeah, trying to make it be consistent. Good question.
Do I hear a motion to accept the substance abuse policy? Calvin, a second? Okay. Charles? All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right.
All right, well, good deal. And so what I'll do now is update that by removing the highlights, removing the strikeouts, and then we'll push that out to our students. I know Coach Phillips was asking me about that soon, or asking me about that the other day. I am up again. Bullet-resistant shields, something you don't think you're ever going to talk about in the school business, but here I am. Applications for the bullet-resistant shield grant for nonprofit corporations, local units of governments, and other political subdivisions must contain the following statement. So we've applied for a grant to get our police department bullet-resistant shields, and part of that grant is we must have a resolution that's attached that makes the following statements: authorization for the submission of the application, a commitment to provide applicable matching funds, which I'll come to that in a second, a designation of the name and or title of the authorized official, and a written assurance that in the event of loss or misuse of grant funds, the governing body will return all funds to the PSO. There are no matching grants from us on this fund. There are no matching funds for us on this grant. The grant covers all of the costs. That is just a requirement that the resolution has to include. But I did want to be clear, we're not going to be out any money for this if we are awarded the grant. And I don't know if I'm supposed to read the resolution that I'm asking you to adopt, or if Mr. Ament's supposed to read it, or if anybody's supposed to read it.
Go ahead and read it.
All right, a lot of whereases in here. Whereas the Gatesville ISD Board of Trustees finds it in the best interest of the citizens of Coryell County that the Bullet-Resistant Shield Grant Program be operated for the 2023-2024 school year, and whereas Gatesville ISD Board of Trustees agrees to provide applicable matching funds for the said project as required by the Bullet-Resistant Shield Grant application, and whereas Gatesville ISD Board of Trustees agrees that in the event of loss or misuse of the Office of the Governor funds, the Gatesville ISD Board of Trustees assures that the funds will be returned to the Office of the Governor in full. Whereas Gatesville ISD Board of Trustees designates the superintendent of schools as the grantee's authorized official. The authorized official is given the power to apply for, accept, reject, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Gatesville ISD Board of Trustees approves submission of the grant application for Bullet-Resistant Shield Grant Program to the Office of the Governor.
Do I hear a motion?
Question.
Oh, we have a question?
Sure.
Okay, and Yancy, you said you never thought this would be something that was
Absolutely.
discussed, neither did any of us.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about bulletproof stuff, but I know there are different types of bullets.
There are.
So what is this?
Here's my knowledge of that.
Okay.
These shields to apply had to be what's called a level 3 shield. Chief Stiles is the one that picked them out.
Okay.
In our quotes, because the grant was for almost $30,000, $27,000. When we were getting quotes to see which ones we could afford, which ones would meet that criteria, one of the companies gave us a quote for a 3A shield, which Chief Stiles explained it to me was pistol bullets, and the 3+ shield was the more high-powered ammunition. That's the way he explained it to me, but I don't have
So
any.
there's just two kinds?
There may be more than that, a lower level or higher level. This is the same one that our sheriff's department just got. We got the exact same shield that they just got earlier in the school year, but I guess last year for them.
Okay, thank you.
but I don't know a lot about it either.
All right, we have a motion from Jimmy, a second. Linda? Any other discussion? All in favor? All right.
Well, Chief Stiles will be excited that we're gonna get to apply for some shields. Yeah.
RDSPD.
Good evening, everyone. It is that time of year again where we renew our contract with the Temple Regional Day School Program for the Deaf. And so that is a day school where our students that have hearing impairments that we cannot provide services for here, it's too much, they go every day and they go to school down there. So we currently have one student that goes. She's had a wonderful year and we anticipate her going back next year. And so I'm just here to ask if we can renew our contract with them for the 23-24 school year. That's my recommendation.
Do I hear a motion? Mary Ann, second Calvin. Any other questions?
What grade is that young lady in?
She is in 3rd grade.
Any more? All in favor? All right. Skills, thank you so much. Skills USA. All right.
Hello.
I was hoping you'd get a turn.
You were hoping, huh? They put me way down the list tonight.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get that.
You're gonna miss Wheel of Fortune.
Skills USA. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with Skills USA, it is a career technical student organization that our CTE programs attend for competition each year. And so we have our construction kids, we have our welding kids, and we've had our health science, automotive. They all compete in this competition, and usually it's in Corpus Christi, and it's over a few days. And this year, our health science team had 2 students that placed first in the state of Texas in Skills USA, and have and by placing first, they have qualified for the national competition in Atlanta, Georgia. I think probably in 2013 or 2014, I think we had a kid go to Kansas City for construction. I can't, maybe, was it 2017 or 2018? For welding, went to Louisville, Kentucky, I believe, for welding. And so now this is kind of the next group, our next group. And so this one is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia in June. And so we had Noah Smith and Laura Mitchell, and neither one of them were able to make it tonight. They had to work. But Noah placed first in the nursing assistant competition, and Laura Mitchell placed first in the health occupational professional portfolio.
Amazing.
And so, Miss Embody, she's been working with these kids all year. And if you guys have more questions about what those competitions entail, she can answer those. But Miss Embody will be traveling with the kids to Atlanta for the competition. And
Can you tell us briefly what they had to do?
Well, it's kind of segmented. So we went to Temple College, and they had nursing people that were actually working in the field, whether at Tarleton, that they would quiz them on the certain skills that we taught them. And it was kind of a random poll. And so 3 of them went against each other, and one pursued to state, which was Noah, which Jordan Underwood did wonderful, and someone from another school, but we don't care. And so then they went to state, and it was a bigger group, and so they were already well trained to get there, but it's the nursing program that we've started about 5 years ago, where they're working in the community now as CNAs, and it's just those skills that they just are tested on. Now for Laura, she had to compile, if you will, a scrapbook of what made her go into the healthcare field, and so right now we created a practicum where she goes to Hillside again with that community outreach, and wonderful Jennifer Boyd helps her go around and job shadow. So she created kind of a log, what she learned every day, and kind of perpetuated herself. She's going to A&M, I mean, she's a great student, but she had to convey that in her presentation of what brought her to this particular moment in time. And so they thought that was wonderful again. Of course they all are. I mean, we had an incredible group of people, and now I kind of put it to them, like, we've done state before, not like we're bored with that, but kind of did that already. So let's go forward and see if we can get it to nationals. And we did on 2 different people. I thought the team would go as well, but they kind of cheated. Anyway, so they go on to nationals. Now there's still one more competition that's looming that we've not done yet, and that's the world. So that would be
I didn't
like
even know there was
awesome.
one.
And I don't even know where it's going to be.
Sounds very expensive.
It sounds very expensive. But, and then the good thing is when they win, see how when they win nationals, their face will be on like the magazines of Skills USA, and then they get to design a pen. And then again, like I say, they go forward to the world competition. So, no pressure.
Yeah.
If they win, do they need a sponsor to go with them?
Yeah, we'll all be standing up for that moment.
You're at the end of the line.
Secretary.
Let's all just go.
But
Anyways,
I mean,
yeah.
we're really proud of them, and we really, this is like one way they can network, and then they can improve themselves. And Laura's a senior, so this is her last year, and Noah's still a junior, so we can do this again next year as well. So we're just, here to say well done, and they are working at HEB right now, so that's why they're not here. The parents were going to be here for that. Yeah.
Is Noah the band director, the
He
real
is. He
nice
does
young
everything.
man?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, he's such a nice kid.
He is a really nice kid.
So we're looking to send Noah, Laura, and Miss Embody to attend the national competition. Expenses will include the conference registration, which is expensive, airfare, hotel, meals, and transportation around Atlanta. So we're expecting it to be approximately $10,000, give or take. Just not sure. We still need to get airfare, and that seems to be going up.
When did you say that again?
It's in June, June
19th.
19th through 23rd.
Okay.
So that'll be a perfect birthday gift.
Anyways, does anybody have any questions?
Do I hear a motion?
This is just awesome.
Jimmy, a second.
I'll second.
Mary Ann, any further questions?
That's outstanding. That's all I'm gonna say.
Sure, yeah.
Well done.
All in favor?
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
Instructional material.
Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds good. All right.
Yeah, or cat.
Instructional materials allotment and TEAC certification for 2023 and 2024. So instructional materials allotment, this is our fund that we get to purchase our instructional materials, textbooks, instructional resources, and things like that. And so each year, districts are required to certify annually with the State Board of Education, the commissioner, that each subject in the required curriculum other than PE, the students have access to instructional materials that cover all the Texas essential knowledge and skills. And so I had to go through and fill out this survey for TEA, showing with a lot of the resources we use. I think it's 20-something pages. Anyways, but we just have to get this approved, and so once it's approved, then I can submit it to TEA, and then they'll open up our allotment probably sometime in June. It closes the whole month of May. They open it in June for us to start purchasing our materials for next school year.
Do I hear a motion to approve instructional material purchase? Calvin, a second. All right, Linda. Anybody else have a question? All in favor?
Thank you,
All right,
guys.
policy updates.
This update to policy FFA is just a compliance piece. We periodically need to update our health and wellness policy just to make sure that we're up to date with what TDA wants. That's the Texas Department of Ag. And so the policy presented tonight was already reviewed and approved by TASB. That's our kind of governing legal body that makes sure everything we write is kosher. And so basically these little updates keep us in compliance if we have a future audit. So I would recommend that the board approve the FFA local policy as presented in your packet.
Any questions? Do I have a motion? Charles, second. Mary Ann. All in favor? Okay. Proposed resolution against vouchers.
So you've probably been seeing in the news a lot recently. The Texas legislature is grappling with a lot of different issues, but a big one this session is vouchers. And so The Senate Committee on Education met, and they've, basically there's about 5 different bills that are being heard last week. And the estimated cost of the state for the voucher provisions in Senate Bill 8 in particular is projected to escalate from $500 million per year to over $1 billion within a 4-year period. SB 8 provides students with an $8,000 voucher. That's probably the number that Daryl and I have been tracking the most. There's also a need to add a whole bunch of people to regulate and monitor all this, so there'd be at least 20 staff members to the comptroller's office to help administer it, 6 attorneys to manage litigation, so when people start fighting over their $8,000, develop eligibility, oversee the denial and approval process, support anti-fraud, imagine the fraud possibilities. And so these plans have been tried and failed in lots of other states. But of course Texas is wanting to try their hand at it, and so you know, in public education we're a little bit fearful that it's going to funnel quite a bit of money away from our school systems. And if a student, it begs a lot of questions. If a student wants to come back to us after their $8,000 has gone somewhere else, we're not going to get $8,000 then when they come back here. There's just a lot of holes and gaps. And so we feel like that in Gatesville, we provide a good education. The argument is, well, Houston ISD is a failed school. Those kids need to have a choice. And so oftentimes they'll pick a bad example, you know, sometimes even nationally, and use that as fodder or proof why, well, you need school choice. And so a lot of private schools are leery of taking the money because it wouldn't be a giant leap for the state to say to a private Christian school, we're giving you that money. I don't like that Bible verse right there. That's just a little tiny jump before they start doing that. And so they're leery of it also, and they would be the recipients of the money. So it's unfortunate that public schools are under attack. A lot of the things that you hear about in the news right now, from critical race theory to transgendered students to trying to think what all the main things are right now. Books, pornographic books in libraries. Somebody else said something. Drag queen story hour. I mean, these are all the different talking points that you hear on Tucker each night. And so they worry that since that's happening in this big city in Timbuktu, it has to be happening here. And so they need a choice. And so unfortunately, we're trying to combat that. And we are fearful of the financial outcomes of it. We're facing the Esser Cliff, proposed funneling of money out of public schools, and so it's kind of a perfect storm of money, and everybody always thinks, it's an endless spigot of money, you'll be fine. We'll see. We'll see. So the resolution that TASB is trying to have us consider, this was prepared by TASB, for local school boards to consider. Jeff's going to have a field day with all those quotes I just gave. I'll be canceled here shortly. So basically, whereas Article 7 of the Texas Constitution requires the Texas legislature establish and make suitable provision for the support and maintenance of an efficient system of public free schools, whereas Texas public school districts accept every student, that's a big sticking point. If I'm a private school, I can say, you're special ed, I don't think I want you. Whereas education savings accounts and other voucher schemes give private schools, not parents, the right to choose. Whereas Texas public schools adhere to state-mandated academic and financial accountability standards. So if you're a fiscal conservative, you want to funnel $1 billion to a private school that takes no star and has no first rating, you want to give them that money? That flies in the face of fiscal conservatives, what they've always preached. Whereas school choice already exists in Texas by public schools, charters, interdistrict transfers, home schools, virtual schools, private schools, you've already got lots of choice. Whereas education savings accounts and similar voucher schemes eliminate public accountability of schools and tax dollars. Whereas using tax dollars to pay for tuition in private and religious schools would grow into a costly entitlement program. I'm not quite sure how the separation of church and state plays into that. Whereas the taxpayer-funded voucher program would reduce the amount of state funds available for all schools, harming many rural Texas communities where families have few, if any, private school options. And whereas Texas parents who accept a voucher will lose out on a long list of important parental rights outlined in the Texas State Education Code and federal law, especially protections for students receiving special ed services. Now, therefore, be it resolved that GISD Board of Trustees calls the legislature to reject any diversion of public dollars to private entities in the form of education savings account and similar voucher schemes. So vouchers have a lot of different words now. They call it parent empowerment because voucher kind of has a negative connotation. So they're trying to cover our bases with the wording. So anyway, that is, as a proponent of public schools being the great American experiment, I'd rather that not go through, but we're watching it very carefully and it's hard to tell if it'll pass or not. So my recommendation would be, if you feel so moved and agree with this, to approve the resolution as presented tonight, so that I can forward it to TASB, encouraging that all public schools create a united front against vouchers.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Charles? Linda? Second? Joy. Any other questions? All in favor? All right. Unanimous.
This is a good one to end on.
DPS.
Yeah, this is a neat story. So DPS is getting new offices here in Carroll County, and so they're being displaced. And so there are 7 state troopers and a business manager that need office space. And so our primary school, our office staff, they're going to move to the old front of the building, the old front. And so basically that new front will be left empty. And so when they approached us about, could we have some free office space? In return, you'd have 7 state troopers in and around your school district. I said, of course. And so they came and looked at it. They felt like it was a perfect setup. A lot of these local DPS troopers live and work around here, have kids that go to our school systems. And so we know a lot of them already. And so they're already, I asked them, are your higher ups okay with it? They said, yes, we love the idea. So basically tonight I would recommend that the board approve the little interlocal, it's a very simple little interlocal cooperative contract with DPS so that they can have office space. They think they'll be there about 1.5 years while their new offices are built. Could be 2. We're in no hurry. It's no skin off our nose, but just think about that. 7 more DPS troopers with those vehicles in the parking lots, roaming around. And so I think that's really an added security thing. That if you're a would-be attacker, seeing that many state troopers in a parking lot, you're going to think, I'll go to the next school.
Any questions?
Do we have the space that we can spare?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There's a lot of space over the primary.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the contract? Jimmy? A second? Linda? All in favor? All righty.
Thank you, guys.
It's 6:38, we'll go into executive